Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Lock Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor and Konner, and it's a major week, but we won't be talking about that major today. We'll do a preview show coming up on Wednesday, the day before the major starts, but we've got plenty of news to talk about this show and a few pretty interesting Reddit threads that you're not going to want to miss.
Reddit's just like a buzzword.
It is. It's BuzzFeed. No. Before we get into it, though, let's take a moment to thank our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Manscaped. Fellas, have you started spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing. Spring is sprung, and the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the best tools for getting your body beach ready. Time to join the other 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going over to manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping with the code GRIPLOCKED. Manscaped has the full package you need for spring cleaning this year. The Performance Package 4.0 is the only tool you need to keep your boys looking and smelling like the fresh tulips that your partner wants. Start off this spring cleaning using the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer to get the most precise shave on your hedges. Did we mention it's waterproof as well? No need to worry about watering your grass with this tool. Equipped with an LED light, you'll know it'll be a major asset to the new shower routine. Clear your holes and smell the spring air with the Weed Whacker. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. After cleaning your nose, make sure to get rid of that foul smell with the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. I had to use that after my run this weekend. Lifesaver. Let me just tell you. I was almost bleeding. My inner thighs were chafing so bad.
8 miles to do it.
It was brutal. But hey, I'm here, live to tell the tale, thanks to the Crop Preserver. The Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls, and you keep the boys sticking from your legs and keep them smelling fresh like flowers. And finish off your grooming routine with the Plow 2.0. Haven't heard of this one yet.
Wow,
the
perfect razor.
Perfect razor for your finest shave on your face, because if you're using the Lawnmower 4.0 on your balls and your face, I don't think I have to tell you you're doing it wrong.
I think we need the Plow from Manscaped. Though the start of spring also marks the start of Testicular Cancer Awareness Month in April, Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. Manscaped is committed to raising awareness for the most common form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35 and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer as part of their We Save Balls initiative.
So head over to Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRIPLOCKED at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code, one word, GRIPLOCKED at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. All right, this past weekend, the Open at Tallahassee happened. It was a Silver Series event. Not a ton of focus being put on it
not a ton of folks out there.
Yeah, I think that it's the week before a major. It's just a tough weekend, but Albert Tam was able to take it down, his first Pro Tour win. I actually saw Stat Mando said the first European Pro Tour win in general.
By MPO.
By MPO, correct.
Yeah.
Let me read what it actually was. Paul corrected him because they made an incorrect statement somewhere in there. But
oh, snap.
Got him. With the victory in Tallahassee, Albert Tam becomes the first European to win a Disc Golf Pro Tour event in MPO and the second male European to win a major elite or Silver Series.
Not true.
Which he's actually the third, because Paul said Simon's won an NT, and then they're like, this is based on PDGA location, and Simon has Massachusetts listed. So they weren't counting Simon as a European. Regardless, Albert Tam is the first to win a Pro Tour event, because Simon won 2015 Ledgestone, which was a national tour back then.
That's true.
It is a Silver Series, but Albert Tam took it down. Matty O came in second. He had a scorcher of a final round.
Wait, was Kevin Jones there?
No, I don't think he ended up playing. He dropped out.
I was going to say, because we were on Kevin Jones' fraud watch.
Yeah, he did not show up. But he will be at the major, obviously. Matty O came in second, and then Alex Russell came in third. Gannon Burr was there. He came in fourth.
Impressive then for,
it was a solid win. Yeah, there was enough players there that it was a solid win. And then on FPO, we had another first-time winner with Stacey Haas. She took it down by 5 strokes, again with a scorching hot final round. And second place was Valerie Mandujano and Jessica Weiss, which that is not what the leaderboard looked like going into the final day.
Wow.
I believe Lisa Fakis had the lead originally. She dropped down to 4th. A few other storylines really quickly to go over from this event. First, this was Eric Oakley.
Luke
Humphreys was there. This was Eric Oakley's first event of the season. And he had a solid first and third round. He struggled a little bit in the second round. He was able to come in 22nd at 7 under par, which puts him 13 strokes out of the lead.
Yeah, I mean, he's first event back.
But yeah, he's back.
He's been out.
He knocked some of the rust off, so it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do
First
the major.
tournament with the new bag, I think. So, I mean.
Yeah. Well, did he play some before the injury at all?
No, that was preseason.
I know this is like his first.
Because he was supposed to start his season in Texas, and then when I interviewed him, he was like, "Yeah, not going to happen anymore because he hurt himself."
Yeah, no events this year.
So that was
he did
opening
play. Yeah, because the last event was USDGC last year. So this is it.
New bag.
This is the first event with the new bag.
Yeah,
open in Tallahassee.
That's
so
not bad. Not a bad start.
No
Injury
overall
and new bag.
solid. Because again, he had 2 good rounds, 1 mediocre.
He's got to get right back into it.
And now we're going
major.
straight back into a major this week. And the other flip side of the coin too is Konner was able to hang around. So she ended up losing by 7 strokes, but she was in it until the final round. She lost 6 strokes in the final round. So
yeah, I mean,
she was on lead card and she was shot under par for the tournament.
At this point,
and
with
she
Konner,
finished in 4th place.
It's like we just kind of had like this attitude now of just like, oh, she's doing all right. Like she's.
Well, my
just,
thing
like,
is, this is her
it.
first like solid overall tournament. It's nothing great against. It wasn't against a good field, a great field.
You gotta expect
but
better, though.
it might have been a good thing for her game this weekend just to be able to play without a lot of eyeballs on her.
I'm telling you, I still I feel like she's gonna like pop off and win an event and like.
Well,
change
I'm hoping that
season.
I'm hoping this kind of helped. Obviously, she didn't win. But she was able to kind of hang around, and she was like kind of in it. She was on lead card the final day. Hopefully, this kind of gets things going right before a major. Because like if you show up to the first major and just get wrecked, like that's not going to do a lot for confidence.
I don't know if I see it working at WR. That course is punishing.
It is punishing, but it's going to punish everyone.
It is. So that's why I'm saying whoever's got the best game right now is just gonna do the best, really.
But I mean, I just feel like it might have been something she needed where she can go out and play a tournament and like not a lot of people were.
No, that probably
it
helped.
wasn't
not,
a super
not a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, it wasn't a super talked about event, not a super high watched event, not a super well attended event. So just get out, get some Silver Series points, and kind of slide under the radar. Another FPO storyline that doesn't have anything to do with the Open in Tallahassee, but kind of came out around there, was Heather Young announced on Instagram that she's gonna be taking a break. She announced, this is the quote from her post. This is her caption. "I'm gonna be taking at least several months off from the disc golf tour. I've had some ongoing struggles with what my plans are for the future with disc golf and life in general. While dealing with some of these issues, I feel like I've lost my desire to play, which makes it very hard to compete at the highest level. I'm hopeful that by taking a step back for a while, I can regain that fire that drives me to be one of the best."
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The disc golf burnout is starting to happen. We've seen Colt Montgomery posting like on Facebook with some frustration, talking about how he just doesn't really know what he's doing out there anymore. As the field gets stronger and there are certain players that are just going to feel that they're just kind of getting left behind, because it kind of, where it used to be, if you were kind of a hedge player, you might still be able to sneak in some top 20s these days. Those first 20 spots on that leaderboard are really tough to get to. Those guys are all just killing it. And
the same in FPO. Obviously, it's not 20, but
if you're just it's more like the top, 5 to 8, 10, somewhere in there. But and if you're just week after week just getting crushed and just not seeing any results, not because you're bad at disc golf, but because the field is just getting ridiculous.
What's also tough is a player like Heather, you don't know kind of where her contract would be, but you would assume that it's a very bonus heavy contract.
Yeah, you're not picking up those bonuses.
If you're not able to regularly get those bonuses, then you're touring. This post just kind of serves as a good reminder of how taxing the tour life can be, both physically and mentally and financially. Obviously, you didn't mention anything with finances, but I'm saying in general, like a player like Colton, a player like Heather, where they're not, they don't have these top tier contracts. It's going to be their money they make throughout the season is going to be heavily based on how well their signature series discs sell and how well they do at tournaments.
Their earnings,
And if you aren't able to get into wherever the bonus threshold is in your contract regularly, you really might be spending $1,000 to make $200.
Yeah.
And that's assuming you even cash enough, because you're paying $225 to even play in the event.
Yeah. It's
going
to become more popular. You're going to start seeing this more out of players. And these are not like Colt Montgomery and Heather Young especially are not small names in the division.
Colt Montgomery won a pro tour within the last 3 years.
They're well-known players. But this is just what's going to start happening because Yeah, the tour life isn't easy. Like already, the lifestyle, if you're not one of the very like top, we're talking like top 1% player, then you're going to be on the road in a van or an RV or heck, even just a car. You know, that's how a lot of players start doing this. And if you're not having any success and you're not seeing results, like you got to really love the game if you're going to keep moving on and realize that there's other things you can do. That's just what the tour is going to become. And now with like, if they start introducing cuts more, that's when you're really going to see it. Let me tell you, if they start introducing cuts more frequently and there's players that are going out there and they're not even getting 4 rounds of disc golf or 3 rounds of disc golf, that's when you're going to see people really give it up. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Pro Tour finds that balance too, which I think they've been trying to like pretty delicately approach the situation of like, we need to make this tour more competitive, more cutthroat. We're going to have tour carbs. We're going to have ratings caps, but we also need to not make it too demoralizing before the field size gets big enough, because we need to make sure that if players drop out, there's new ones that are just as good to jump in. It's going to become a more popular theme. The tour is only going to get harder from here on and forever. It's
going to be a tough thing too. Like Heather Young is obviously, that's her last name, but she's also very young. Yeah. And so for her, she's kind of sitting like, do I want to dedicate my entire life to this sport?
Right.
And that's my main, like, that's how I make money. That's how I do everything. And it's something where if I don't break into that top 5, I might be going like, you know, nickel and diming my way through my entire life.
Right. Well, then you might look up 15 years later at the end of your career and be like, well, I made it, but I've got no savings.
Yeah.
And now what am I going to do?
Well, that's the thing too, that's like, honestly, a player like Heather Young, I respect a lot more than a player that just keeps their head down and refuses to step back and look at their situation.
Yeah, no,
because
there's nothing wrong with it.
You might like, it'd be very easy to just keep like, I'm almost there, and putting your head down and grinding and not ever getting there. And then you blink and you're 30 something.
Yeah.
And you don't have, you know, if you started touring when you were fresh out of high school or fresh out of college, you might not have any job experience. You might not have any retirement savings in general.
You got to hope to find work in disc golf, which isn't easy either.
And then you're just like, I can either keep touring for another 10 years of relevancy, but now I'm going to be 40 and in the same shoes of what do I do next? So it's a question where like, I respect Heather for taking the step back now and just being like, what do I want to do? Is this something I fully want to do? And if so, what do I need to do to make sure it happens?
Yeah.
Or is it something where I want to play disc golf for fun on the weekends and find something else during the week? It's a tough decision, but I think it's a decision that players are going to be smart to make early in their career.
Yeah.
Of like, is this something I think I can fully commit to? And I think if you take a step back and you look at the pros and cons and then you decide to fully commit, it's a different level of commitment than, okay, well, I'm going to play a pro tour here and there. Okay, well, this year I'm going to play 6 pro tours.
Right.
Okay, this year I'm going to play 10 pro tours, which is kind of the current model.
The thing is too, you don't have to like wipe disc golf out of your life. It is so easy to mini tour and local tour and just go to a few events. Like you can stay pretty darn relevant with a smaller tour model.
I mean, that's kind of what Dickerson did until he was
very
ready.
relevant. Yeah. And like, honestly, it's something, and it's such an interesting topic, the topic of like the guys and girls that are dedicating their life to disc golf touring, but then, you know, once they finish up, like, what do they do next? And it honestly would be interesting, something that the NFL Players Association does. I got a chance to go visit their offices on a trip when I was in college. They have an entire segment of the Players Association, which represents the players in that league, that their whole focus is helping out guys. They're a resource for guys to find careers after football, because an average NFL career might be 2 years. Like, it's very cutthroat. There's not a lot of guys that even make their retirement off that league, and they give you all these resources. They're going to help you build resumes, get networked. It'd be interesting to see somebody do that with disc golf, like create a foundation that's going to help these disc golfers that either are just finished up with their careers or just couldn't quite cut it, and give them some resources. That'd be something the PDGA would have to do, because, you know, these players have given so much time to furthering the sport, kind of give back and like help them on post-career, because it's a big thing. Like, there are professional athletes every day that end up homeless because they just they couldn't get their career going the way they thought they would, and then that's their experience. Like, how do you translate on a resume, I played professional disc golf? Like, what is that? There's ways to work that, surely. There is experience you have, but you got to
find someone who values
you got to figure it out.
Because if you walk into a corporate office and you're like, yeah, you know, I ran social media for 3 years. You're like, oh, for who? For myself while I was touring as a disc golfer. They're going to be like, okay, yeah, but this person's got a bachelor degree, internship at this place.
Right.
Like that's going to be a very hard competitive field type thing to enter. But like,
It's just,
it is an interesting thing. And in disc golf, it's hard to know like how long a career is relevant, right? Because right now
we
haven't really seen it. We're in the new era of at what point does a Paul Macbeth retire? At what point does a Ricky retire?
Yeah, the generation, like I think Nico is probably right on the edge of that generation that we'll have to watch over the next decade to see what happens. The theme right now has always been for the guys that are getting out of disc golf is they stay in disc golf because
they find a job.
That's
in
all
disc
they
golf,
know. And disc golf is a scratch your back type industry, but that can only go on for so long.
And there's only so many spots. Like if you have a name like Nico or a name like Philo, for instance, has been able to slowly transition out of fully playing into more things, but he has a recognizable name. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch the players who have grinded out on tour, but like Patrick Brown, great. What's Patrick Brown up to right now?
Yeah, still.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's still playing, but
Masters. Like as it goes on, like a player like if you're able to get to a point where your name is on discs, like Ken Climo, Greg Barsby right now, Nate Sexton, Paul Macbeth, Paige Pierce. If you're able to get to a world championship or whatever it requires for your name to be on disc, where that can A, supplement income while you're touring, and then B, be something that you keep long term after, to where I don't know what's all in the contract, but like I'm sure if someone wanted to put their name on the Champ Firebird, it would have to be like Kenny gets some type of check to relinquish that right or something. Right. I don't know. But regardless, that's a way that like Ken Climo's playing, but not playing on tour. And he has a lot of back injuries and stuff where he like will play around and then have to recover for several days after. But he's still able to make money off disc golf. So where he can just find some other jobs and stuff like that. I think he even had like roofing experience or something prior to disc golf or during disc golf, to where he has stuff. But like his generation, it was a lot of people working 9 to 5 and playing disc golf on quote unquote tour. So they have experience. So their generation's a tough one to look at because those players a lot of times were working while they were touring. So you have painters, plumbers, roofers. I know whatever his name is, Ron Russell, I think, has a big roofing company in Florida. Yeah. Stuff like that where they all have it.
Side hustles. Yeah.
Now we're seeing this is the first generation of the full if you're a touring disc golfer, that you are a touring disc golfer. Right. Like the majority of people on tour don't have a weird side hustle or
and they started, like you said, they started right out of high school or college, to where like that's been their entire life.
So this is the first generation that we've got to watch, and I'm not going to be surprised if more people have this like awakening moment like Heather Young of like, hey, is this really what I want to be doing? Yeah. Like, is this really the best move for my life? Like, I'm having fun right now, but is this something that 10 years from now I'm still going to be having fun? And like, will I be able to survive?
It's so hard to weigh because it is like a once in a lifetime thing where it's like, it's such a cool opportunity to get to go play on tour and something you'll never get to do again. Yeah. But
you just can't let the dream outweigh reality.
You gotta think about your future sometime. And like certain players like will have that self-belief, because like somebody like Heather Young, who I still believe is like on the fringe of that division, like she could make it, but it's like you just got to decide how much you're willing to bet on yourself.
Exactly. Point. It comes a lot down to that, and some players are going to bet on themselves and lose.
This is like how touring sports works. This is how professional golf works as well. Like there are so many guys who spend so much money playing mini tour professional golf on themselves to try and make it. Like they're not making money, they're spending it, and it's so cutthroat and it's crazy. And disc golf, it's a lot more affordable to try and make that dream work, but it's getting very tough at the top.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably a normal growing pain for a growing small sport.
Yeah.
It's not even just a growing pain. It's just like
that's just a pain we're going to feel through.
Yeah, it's just a reality that we've grown into.
The difference, though, is like right now we're talking about like Heather Young is one of the more household names in FPO. I wouldn't say more household, but most people who watch FPO know Heather Young's name. Yeah. Eventually, it's not going to be players you know the name of, because it's going to be players trying to survive on the Silver Series to get onto the Pro Tour.
Once the money gets bigger, you'll have like, when it gets competitive enough that the money is big enough, like on the PGA Tour, if you've earned your PGA Tour card and you're playing on the tour, you're probably doing okay. There are guys towards the bottom of the money list that like I mean, they'll lose their tour card probably. There's a reason they're there. But like most of those guys on the tour, and especially if you're able to stay on the tour for years, like you're gonna make a good living, just because the purses we're talking 10 to 15 million.
And endorsements. That's where
and you
most of the endorsements are going there.
You got a logo on your sleeve on TV. Tens of thousands of dollars, six figures for some guys. So
7 figures for some guys.
Yeah, 7 figures for some guys. So yeah, it's just one of those things, but it is always going to be that attitude.
Right now, we're just seeing the fringe players that are under
I think it's just
stress and
starting to
pressure
hit people really hard
are
right now.
on the tour.
Yeah.
In the future, those fringe players will be trying to get on the tour.
It's also interesting,
It's
too.
a little bit of a different
Disc
scenario.
golf just has that huge gap, too, where like you're going to have guys like Paul McBeth that are like flying to events, can afford personal trainers, nutritionists if they want them. And then you've got guys at the bottom that are just trying to cut it. And that's the same thing that happens in pro golf is you'll have guys going to tour events that are like on smaller tours, and they're like splitting hotel rooms with each other like 4 ways. Whereas then you got guys that have been successful that are flying private jets. Like there's always that kind of gap too, where it's an interesting, the tour life and the tour kind of struggle and grind is just, it's fascinating. It's just a different kind of sports than like your traditional, join a team, get a salary type thing, because it's so personalized how you make your tour work and because like you can do it so bare bones, but then if you make enough money, you can make, it's hardly a tour. It's like you just have a house flying in the sky. So like it's crazy the range of scenarios that people have.
Yeah, I think that's the key too, is like with team sports, like if you make it to the NBA, your performance matters whether you're staying on the team or not, but your performance doesn't directly dictate your salary a lot of times. It dictates your bonuses and stuff like that. But if you sign a guaranteed contract with the team,
if you have guaranteed money, it's guaranteed.
Yeah. Whereas if you make it onto the Pro Tour and you never cash all season, you're not guaranteed. You might have a signature series disc or with like a local pro shop or something, but realistically, that's a few $100. Other than that, you're guaranteed nothing because you're not employed.
Yeah,
you have to go earn your living by, and that's where like when the comparison to other sports a lot of times falls apart is like these Pro Tour players aren't employed by the Pro Tour. So the Pro Tour is just a tournament, and the players have to go earn their income based on where they end up. And if you don't end up cashing, you could go all year, pour in $50,000, $60,000 into your tour, and walk away making quote unquote 30. So you lose, you pay 30 grand to be on the Pro Tour. And it's like, what the heck did I just do?
One of these days, we're gonna do a video where like we won't be able to play on the original idea. We had an idea back in the day would like go on the Pro Tour. We obviously can't do that anymore with the card system, but like even just like if we did a challenge where we have to tour around the area,
you could still do it. It'd be harder to get into some of these events because of the
tough to get in. We could get into Silver Series,
but this is probably one of the last years to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna happen.
But no, that's what I'm
next
saying.
year though, we get in Silver Series.
We could still do a Silver Series or just even local events where like we do a challenge just to see how hard it is to like. All of our budget is just what we're able to make essentially with just a little bit of starting money and just see how long we can stretch
I think
it.
I'm just showing up and I'm going. I think I'd become like I think I would drive out to events and I'd just DoorDash.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm doing.
Just
doing something like that.
Well, you could at least make your food and gas money.
Yeah.
In like a few hours of DoorDash.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
I'm trying to figure out something like that. I'm not relying on cashing.
Maybe.
I don't trust my game.
Not with how expensive gas is right now.
I'm not trusting my game.
Yeah, it'd be tough. It would take a little bit. It would take a little bit.
I just know I'm not trusting my game.
I would probably do like
cash.
I would probably slowly sell discs out of my bag on on like Marketplace, or if I got like a player's pack of any kind, immediately sold on eBay.
That's the key. You enter amateur at weeklies and stuff all throughout the week, and then you flip all those discs.
Flip the discs
to be able to play pro.
It would be an interesting grind.
All right, so let's get into the fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia. And if you really like Trevor's Trivia, I know it's a fan favorite, so I know you guys love it. Be sure to check out this month's Patreon video that's coming out soon, where Trevor is going to take the Trevor's Trivia to a whole nother level, and we're going to play a little disc golf Jeopardy. Konner, Silas, and I will be the contestants, and Trevor will have a full-on Jeopardy board, and the winner will get something.
Very excited.
Blizzards, multiple blizzards.
I love blizzards.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time.
Free blizzards for life, courtesy of Trevor Stop.
Yeah, so check out the Heiser Club.
I heard him say, yeah, Trevor.
Yeah, no, for sure. Check out the Heiser Club, and Well, I'll just give you a debit card, and once it runs out, then like you're out. So
We get one blizzard.
all right, so we're gonna do. I've done this before, but in a different way. But it's called Disc Golf Alternate Universe, where I basically paint a scenario that is an alternate universe, and then you have to give the answer accordingly. Last time we did it,
What?
it's very simple. You understand.
Okay.
Last time we did it,
Is it like a multiverse?
there's
Is this the metaverse? Is this what they've been talking
these
about?
questions are. Let me just read the first one. You guys can both give a guess at it. So the first alternate universe question would be: which FPO player would have won the most world titles if Paige, Kat, and Valerie Jenkins didn't exist from 2011 to 2021?
If Paige,
And how many?
and Valerie Jenkins
So there's
didn't
the alternate
exist,
universe where they don't exist,
Sarah Hokum,
and how many?
3.
Oh my gosh, that's so difficult.
I just pulled both of those out of thin air, but I feel like I'm close.
I'm gonna go.
You're blanking
For our
pretty
audio
hard here.
listeners,
Yeah.
Connor is just staring into his mic.
My brain just died.
Oh, bring it back to life. Come on.
I'm working on it. Wait, which were the 3 that I can't choose from?
Valerie Jenkins, Paige, or Kat, who essentially dominated that entire stretch. I don't think anybody else other than Paige Shue,
I know I can't.
and I think Hokum had
Hokum won 2012.
she had
I was
title.
thinking about choosing Paige Shue. I guess I will, and I'll say. So how many? Am I just choosing how many?
How many?
How many? Yeah.
2.
The answer is Sarah Hokum, and it could be 3 or 4. It depends how you put it. Because 3,
Gotta put it at 3. So I'm
3
right.
she would have 3 outright. The 4th one, she was tied for 3rd
She lost the playoff.
So that you get points for that though. That
I
was
get
good
2.
job.
What is
That
that?
was
2 points?
Sure.
How is this point system? I
There's
mean, I
no
feel like
sweating.
It's mostly just you guys both have a chance to answer. All right, one more.
Oh,
I
I thought we were playing for games.
I feel like that was a hard one because
It's tough.
Are we playing for pink
once,
slips?
once the good one,
Yes.
once like a good answer was chosen for that one, then you only had so many other options. I feel like.
Well, you could have said Sarah Hokum.
And you could just guess
Well,
different number.
I guess so.
It's not-
I guess
it's
that
not
would
a-
make sense. I
it's
didn't
not
want
a points competition here.
I want it to be a points competition.
All right, so this one is
I'm up
Wait, it's not
2-0. I'm up 2-0.
in an alternate
Almost
universe where the runner-up wins the world title for the MPO division. Which MPO player has
Runner-up.
the most runner-up world titles all time, and how many? Here's a hint: there are 3 players that are tied.
Ooh.
So 3 players.
runner up.
Which
all
are they, and
time?
how many?
And how
many
many?
runner-ups?
Dang.
So essentially, who has the most runner-ups?
All time is what makes it difficult. I
Ricky's
think.
one of the 3,
Dang,
and
that's
he
a good one.
has. He has.
And ties would be counted.
Ricky
If you were
has
tied for second, it would count.
3. Paul has 3. Ricky and Paul. I'm gonna throw. This is tough.
It's hard when we think about all time.
Yeah, because how many people are tied?
3.
3. So I just need one more tied. I feel like it's got to be someone who's constantly losing to Ken Climo.
Barry.
Ron Russell.
Okay. Is this a competition right now?
And you're saying they're tied at 3 because they all have the same amount. They're tied, so you'd have to be saying they're all tied at 3.
Let me think of Paul. We'll go 3. We'll go Ricky, Paul, Ron Russell.
Okay.
I'm going.
I got to be close.
I'm going Ricky, Paul, Barry Schultz.
The answer. This is quite interesting. They're all at 4, not 3.
So Paul is at 4.
Paul, Ricky, and Josh Anton.
Josh
Whoa.
Anton.
Josh
That's right.
Anton has
That's
4
right.
runner-ups. So
Dang, that's
I should have
crazy.
known that.
Anton was runner-up
Because he
in
was-
2018,
He was coming into his prime
2010,
at 2012
2011.
when he got arrested.
and 2009. So he had 3 straight runner-ups.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And then just
That's
randomly tied with Paul 2018 for second.
that was when he first came back.
Yeah, but Paul,
I
Ricky, and Josh
just
Anton.
forgot about him.
Pretty crazy.
I just thought I guess Ken was beating different people every time.
Yeah, that back in the day, the runner-up was not super
Consistent.
consistent at all. It was
There
like
was one
one-offs
player
everywhere.
that was runner up like twice to him. It definitely wasn't Ron Russell. I couldn't remember who it was though.
Yeah,
Jim Oates maybe? No.
It was pretty random back
Rick-
then. Until the Paul Ricky era, really, that's
I
when
knew
it
Paul
really
because I
started.
know every time.
Well, 2016, 2017,
That's why I started
2018,
counting in my head.
and
It was
2021.
2021 I missed.
Yeah.
Because I had Barsby, Rick. Because
Right.
Paul has either been first or second for like a decade in World. So pretty much you had to count how many times he
Yeah.
lost.
Paul and Ricky made sense for sure.
Ricky, I only counted 3.
Anton's
That's before I
sneaky
got
because
to
he
Paul.
never won.
Yeah.
So like it's just
Yeah.
crazy to have
I was
that many
thinking
runner-ups and never
my
win.
next answer was going to be like Nico or Shoestrick.
Yeah.
Because I was like, they had an era where they were
I
dominant,
think
but they
both
never
have
won.
they both have like a couple, I think.
Yeah, but I didn't. That's why I didn't know if it was quite
Good
that
game,
many.
Trevor. Good game.
GG's.
All right. This past weekend, we had the true first major of the year, college disc golf.
College disc golf.
National
Disc golf.
championship. We'll go over the results really quick, and then really just one main storyline. The team national championship we're going to just cover D1 and then women's D1. We're not going to cover D2 and D3. So men's Division I national championship was Missouri by 3 strokes over a 3-way tie between Liberty University, Iowa State, and Texas.
Texas is kind of a powerhouse, low key.
Yeah, Missouri. I believe Missouri was the number 1 ranked team.
Mizzou. It's
So,
just straight up Missouri, not S&T.
just Missouri, straight up. And women's
Tigers, I
D1,
think.
Missouri also won. So Missouri took home both D1 titles. Sweet.
Wow.
Women's
that's
and men's.
awesome.
Ferris State came in second for
New
the women,
dynasty.
and then BYU came in third for the women. And then in singles, we had, for the men, we had Robert Burridge from Michigan win by 1 over Evan Cole from RIT, and which I believe RIT, they have a hockey team?
Mm-hmm.
Are they in Buffalo? New York?
It might be.
I might have went to a hockey game there randomly.
Okay.
That doesn't matter. And then Colin Thompson from Illinois State came in third for the men. And then for the women, we had Whitney Brown take down, I believe it's her second in a row in a playoff, it looks like,
Sick.
over Rebecca Minnick.
How many-
Whitney Brown's from Southern Arkansas. Aren't they the Banana Slugs?
No, that's Santa Cruz. We always
Santa
get
Cruz.
this.
We always get this. What is Southern
Santa
Arkansas?
Barbara, maybe. I don't know.
Southern Arkansas has some type of cool. They're a horse. Never mind. And
Are
then
they?
Rebecca from Virginia Tech came in second, and Tiana Halfaday from
feel
Ferris
like
State
there's really
came
not
in third.
many multi-time national champions in college disc golf.
It's not a lot because
Because,
you only have a few shots at it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to be like a multiple-time
Back-to-back.
national champ. Put that in your bio. You
Yeah.
know, gosh.
Another thing that was announced was,
I was there a
Paul
couple times.
Ulibarri, his foundation is giving scholarships
$4 grand each.
to some of the winners from this event. So that's a pretty cool initiative that he has going on. I don't know
I'd pay
too many
for-
details about like what his future plans are for the scholarships, but
I'd pay for your
Southern
whole dining plan.
Arkansas is the Mule Riders.
Mule
I mean,
Riders.
that's cool.
They have like their logo's like a flag with the cowboy, right?
I-
Riding a mule.
No.
Nope.
No.
All right. Well,
I think you're thinking of Wyoming. No, there's no cowboy.
no, they're
in
yellow
Wyoming.
and blue. I'm pretty sure they have
They
like
are
merch
yellow
with
and
that.
blue, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have merch with that.
It's an alternate.
It doesn't
logo.
matter.
You understand?
The
Yeah, I
other,
wouldn't get it.
Yeah, mules.
the biggest thing from college disc golf
Scandal.
nationals that was a little bit of an uproar on Facebook was after round 3, Ferris State on the men's
The fact that
side
it took that long.
was in contention. I believe they were only like a stroke or two back, and then got disqualified for an ineligible player, Brendan Tetloff. I am almost positive we talked about Brendan.
We did.
I know we talked about him multiple times,
We-
but I'm pretty sure I said on the podcast,
how is that guy
I don't
still
know how he's
eligible?
still eligible. I'm pretty sure those words came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Mainly
Definitely did.
because in 2017 at Nationals, I played against Brendan, and he almost won. He shot a ridiculous final 13 round. Him and the guy who ended up winning, Ben Clark, were both on my card.
Ben Clark.
And he like popped off. Brendan was a disgusting lefty, and then went on that year, 2017, to make like 13 to
Nasty
15.
lefty.
It's disgusting.
He was
lefty.
filthy. He's filthy. Went on
In a
that
good
year.
way. Just let everybody know, in a good way. Hunter means that in a good way.
How's there a bad way to say
It's
that?
just, you said he was a disgusting lefty.
How's there a bad way to say the word? I mean, we all got it, but like, how's there a
Like
bad
when
way
you,
to
I
say
feel like
the
if you
word
call, if
disgusting?
you
It
say
just was
someone's,
really funny the
if
way
you
that
say
you
someone's
said it.
disgusting at disc golf, like that's pretty,
Yes,
pretty
I
common that they're
completely
good
agree.
at
It was
disc
just
golf.
so funny that you said he's a disgusting lefty.
He can throw so far. Anyways, super smooth player. That year he went on the tour and make like upward over $10,000 playing disc golf.
Good for you, man. It would.
That
feel
is
so
also the
good
year.
to like. Just side note, how good would it feel to like pretty much like if you just like pretty much local tour, just did a couple trips, didn't really pay much, and won $10,000. Like it's just like a side job that just got you a cool
Yeah.
$10K.
And you got to play disc golf.
Yeah, it's just like buy a car.
So that is actually the year that made
That would be
Brendan
fun.
ineligible, because essentially, I'll read through the rules here in a second, but The PDGA has this thing called a Premier Professional, formerly a Touring Pro, and you can't have crossed that threshold, which is like if you're a certain rating, you have to make a certain amount. If you're not below a certain rating, you have to make less money, so on and so forth.
It's like $5,000 for 1,000 rated, I think, or something like that.
A 5-year history is what college disc golf takes into account. So if you're good at math, I'm not, but 2017, that's 5 years ago. So that is the year in question that made this whole thing go down. So originally in the comments, Ferris was claiming they got approval for Brendan to play from college disc golf, which would have made this whole thing even more of a like suspicious conspiracy thing. But it seems as I read into it more that essentially they were assuming college disc golf was checking everyone at registration, which originally and in the rules is something that college disc golf is supposed to be doing to a certain degree. And so when they didn't get flagged, then they were like, he's good to go.
So they were kind of just like, let's see if this works.
Well, I couldn't find...
Like, because like the math is not difficult to do.
I couldn't find if Brendan says he 100% did not know. He assumed he was eligible. I couldn't find if the coach or anyone like that...
If you read the rule, you can't assume you're eligible. Because it's like, okay, look at my earnings from 2017. 17 plus 5 is 22.
But that's what I'm saying is I would assume he just didn't read it because like he... Previously, when we were playing college disc golf, the last year was taken into account. 5 years back is something that I never even thought of.
Okay.
So it makes sense from college disc golf standpoint because this type of situation, you know, where you have a player, like if this situation wasn't in there, then Paul Macbeth could take a year off of disc golf and then play college disc golf and win nationals.
That'd be
like,
fun.
Obviously, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Paul would have to take 5 years off, then play college disc golf, which like, why on earth would we do that?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? First off, why on earth would we do a year off? But you get the whole gist of it, where having some history makes more sense.
The World Dome.
So essentially, Ferris registered, got no pushback from college disc golf, made them assume even more. Everyone's clear to play. After round 3, it was brought to the attention of college disc golf that Brendan was ineligible or might be ineligible. And after looking into it and finding that amount of cash he accepted in 2017, the entire team was disqualified. To add to this story even farther, Ferris played a protest round on Saturday with everyone but Brendan, shot a 9 under, and would have won by 3 overall.
Wow.
Of course, it couldn't be accepted because Brendan was a part of the first 3 rounds that got them there.
That seems kind of silly.
But it brings up a lot of questions as far as like college disc golf needs to figure some of this stuff out before next season. So here's the rules section from College Disc Golf site that outlines all of this.
It is an incredibly simple thing to do. Just check.
Well, not really, because now you have to go 5 years back for all 170 players.
Well, yeah, but you got
and they don't register within a month.
I know, but like that's...
But, well, here's the rules.
You just gotta do it.
College Disc Golf sites outlines this. All the players must be certified amateurs or professionals per the PDGA. Those who meet the standards and qualify as a premier professional, formerly touring professional, or were designated as a premier professional within the last 5 years are not eligible to participate. All players on the team must meet the player requirements, and the team must meet the team requirements of the College Disc Golf eligibility rules throughout the entire postseason competition. Eligibility status will be checked by College Disc Golf through the rostering process. That's where Ferris was saying we thought he was good to go. In conjunction with information from school registrar offices, as well as using information from PDGA and team records. So when we were playing, you weren't even really checked if you went to school there.
Yeah, it was pretty shady.
And there were some schools that like you'd be playing and you'd find out that guys just like lived in the area and were the right age and they brought them. And you're like, are you kidding me? So College Disc Golf has upped their game to where like you have to bring a student ID and stuff like that. It's just an ongoing process, but the rules continue. College Disc Golf reserves the right to use additional relevant information should it become available in a fair and consistent manner to ensure player and team eligibility standards are met throughout the postseason competition. Player eligibility status may be rechecked at any point prior to, during, or following the postseason.
So they have the rules in place.
Rosters will be randomly re-verified with school registrar's office following each postseason competition, conference championships, regional qualifiers, and national championship. So the rules were in place for College Disc Golf to basically have the right during the competition to check it out.
They probably were just too lazy and just didn't think something like this would happen.
It's just something where it's unfortunate on both sides because Ferris reads the rules, sees, this is all going to be checked during rostering. So it might be something where they just either Brendan knew in 2017 and the coaches registering didn't know about 2017. Or to where like Brendan knew, obviously he made a lot of money in 2017, but in his head, why would I think back 5 years? We're talking right now.
Yeah.
The College Disc Golf coaches are probably like, he hasn't played for us for years.
Yeah.
We're fine. register him. It looked like he actually took some time off from disc golf in general. So it seemed like Ferris was kind of in the thing of like, let's just register him. None of this matters. Like 2017 was so long ago, they probably didn't even realize 5 years ago rule thing.
Yeah.
Registered him, no red flags, nothing from college disc golf. We're good to go. Let's book the trip. Let's get down there. Then they get down there. They're playing. Then college disc golf, within their rights, checks it, realizes ineligible, disqualified. Really sucks for Ferris because now they came from Michigan all the way down to South Carolina or North Carolina. Long drive, spent money on hotels, spent tons of money registering, all of that, and they're just out of all of it.
What I would do if I was a PDGA, I think the easiest way to check this...
Well, it's not the PDGA. That's the thing.
College disc golf, rather. The easiest way to check this would be go down a PDGA list of registered players and just click on each one. That career earnings list
you would think there'd be a line of code.
Well, right. You could
just
definitely do it
all
that way. But I'm just saying, like, the first thing you're going to see is that career earnings. Without even going back 5 years, probably 90% of the field hasn't even made more than $1,000 or a couple.
Yeah.
So then... if you do happen to see somebody that's made a lot of money, then go back 5 years.
Yeah,
but like you
right.
could just click backspace, and you could do 500 in one day and be done with it.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like it just didn't get checked because
it just didn't get
you would have
checked.
clicked on Tetloff, seen his career earnings was over $10,000, and be like, hey, let's check his 5 year history. Red flag. So it just didn't get checked.
It just seems like
it's just shocking to me though too because they're such a relevant team. Like you would think that
that's
college
the
disc
thing
golf would have
is
seen their roster.
You have no idea
And being
farther
like-
down. There could have been players playing ineligible, and
That's
it
what I'm
just didn't
saying.
get called
like
on it.
Ferris State, like to me, if I'm college disc golf, that's a very relevant team. I'm like, oh, who's playing for Ferris this year? Like, I'm gonna check who one of my top teams has coming out, and then I'm gonna say, oh, Tetloff, man, he's been around for a while. Like we jumped to this conclusion.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
we're
saying.
not even involved.
I'm not even involved, and I immediately was like,
Yeah.
Brandon Tell. I played against that
Like,
guy.
that's what I'm saying.
And I looked at him like, how is he eligible?
Yeah.
And then I was like, but he must be, which is probably the same thing Ferris did of like, well, he must be. No one said anything.
Yeah,
we're
well,
here.
I mean,
He's been able to play
it's
throughout
tough.
the entire year. He
It's
won the
all
Tiger
college
Town
disc golf.
Throwdown.
Yeah.
You know
College
what I
disc
mean?
golf won't get taken seriously until there's structure, and it's gotten better, but like there has things like this can't happen.
Yeah.
If you want it to be taken
Well, that's the thing is, like,
seriously.
It's a very unfortunate situation. No one is like truly in the wrong because Ferris registered him, didn't get flagged. If there was going to be an issue, they should have been flagged. College disc golf acted accordingly once they found out. If you want to point fingers at anyone, I agree. College disc golf should have realized this.
At least they had a provision in their rules, though, to where once they did act, it's not like that was unheard
everything.
of.
It's unfortunate the way it happened, but like everything happened within the rules, and so it sucks. There's no way around that. But at the end of the day, I think it does fall on college disc golf shoulders of like if they would have just been checked, they could have Ferris could have easily been like, oh, okay, shoot, let's bump someone up from D2, and then
Right.
everything's solved.
Right.
But instead, now they get 3 rounds in. They're in contention to win what's got to be like their 4th or 5th national title, and it's out the window.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Brendan Tetloff actually had a take on the situation in the comment section on this Facebook post that was blowing up, and he said, yes, I should have known before signing up I was ineligible, and I'm sorry. It was 100% not our intention to play an ineligible player. Yes, college disc golf should have realized this when our team registered, and that was bad on them. Please don't attack either Ferris or college disc golf for these things. I've talked with the PDGA and college disc golf to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone in the future, and we can all grow from this. Things have been put in place already to prevent such things and make me feel good about the future of college disc golf. Again, please no hate towards anyone, and I will hopefully return next season as I'll be eligible, because then that'll be 6 years in the past.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So
That's a very mature
that's
statement.
kind of the full summarize. It was a tough moment because when it happened, obviously the entire Ferris State team, which Ferris is one of the biggest college disc golf teams in the country.
I feel like I've been beat by them many a times.
Everyone who plays college disc golf has.
Always.
That kid who won nationals.
It always hurts me a little bit to hear
That
their
kid who
name.
won nationals won USAMs last year.
Dang.
Just a little side focus. I was checking the invite list for the Champions Cup to see if they had the national champion on there. I don't believe they do. They should add that.
Is that a thing?
Well, like the new way they invite people is from people who won stuff the previous year, and like they have like AM Worlds and stuff. I think it'd be cool if they added the national champion.
Yeah. Anyways, I have no idea what I was about to say. Oh, well, Ferris is like one of the biggest disc golf organizations, college disc golf teams in the country. And I don't remember where I was going with that. I was in the middle of a thought. It's gone. But yeah, regardless, very mature take from Brendan. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When it first happened, it kind of felt like everything just kind of broke loose because Ferris was rightfully upset because, I mean, you know, the players the other 3 guys were eligible to play, and they're playing in college nationals, and they're in contention. You know, they're going into the final round thinking if we shoot a good round, and they proved they could do it, they would have won by 3. If we shoot a good round, we're walking home with the national championship tomorrow, and then boom, we can't play tomorrow. And so obviously, like, the initial rush to social media was just like, they posted one of the like coaches or whatever. I actually DM'd him asking like, I asked if he wanted to provide any extra information, if he had some extra questions, because I was trying to figure out in there was like a few different comments that were claiming College Disc Golf directly told them Brendan's eligible to play. If that was the case, this is a whole different story,
right?
Because then College Disc Golf really messed up.
Yeah.
But as the comments continued and like emotions calmed down, they're like, well, this is why he was eligible to play. And it's like, because we registered him, there wasn't red flags, and the rules look like there should have been a red flag somewhere. So that's kind of where that side fell apart. But initially I was messaging him because I wanted more information of like, I need the exact details before I talk about this on a podcast.
Yeah.
Eventually the exact details slowly came out, but some Ferris players DM'd Foundation and DM'd me. All of them were on the same page of like, we want to talk, but we really just want to calm down first. Like before we say anything, we want to calm down first, which is always the mature and right thing to do. Of like, in that moment, they probably felt so much just like betrayed, whatever. And as the week went on, I think everyone came to the same realization of like, this is a really unfortunate miscommunication, and we're kind of getting screwed by it. But they also have the right to screw us. Is what it kind of came down to.
Right.
And so that's why by the end of it,
your
like
own players at the end of the day.
Yeah, by the end of it, it was just like, dang, that really sucks. But it's something that the College Disc Golf is going to grow from, and it's something that College Disc Golf could have done better. Ferris could have done better. Neither were fully in the wrong. Neither were fully in the right. And it's a very unfortunate situation. But, you know, it is what it is.
It might have been something that needed to happen so that this rule could be more.
It just would have been. It would have been nicer if it was like a North Carolina team. So instead of driving from Michigan and booking hotels, it's like
very true.
They're out of just their registration and not all the gas money and hotels. Ferris fielded several different teams, so it's just it's not like they weren't going to come to nationals.
At least with
the
Ferris,
D1
they
team
might have a budget because like I know they give out scholarships at Ferris.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate, but it happened. It went down.
That does stink.
All right. Next up on the agenda is a very interesting Reddit thread I stumbled across when I was in the gym last week.
Oh, you go to the gym?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to flex.
You read it while you're gymming?
I read it while I'm gymming. Actually, that's like my favorite thing to do. It's like in between sets, I just get on Reddit.
Scroll through Reddit.
And this was fascinating. It was just a thread, not a ton of like comments or interaction, but like what a great talking point. It says, which pro's TED Talk would you most want to see?
Ugh. There's not many.
I was thinking there's a ton.
Really?
It'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
Someone said
Depends
the most
what the talk is on, I guess.
whatever they want. First said the most boring would be interested would be Macbeth, how he approaches business outside of disc golf and disc golf itself, like how he promotes himself as a player. I'd be fascinated to hear some of the like lower players on the totem pole, like players who aren't cashing weekend, like we were talking about earlier.
The guys that make you go, how are they alive? Like, how are they making
exactly?
a living?
I would love to hear a TED Talk.
I would
on,
like to hear those guys.
How they make it.
I'd like to hear those guys and then the old school guys.
Yeah, and I was thinking like Feldberg would be fascinating.
Yeah, Feldberg.
I don't even know what he would talk about, but it'd be a fascinating
Any of the
TED
guys
Talk.
that have been in the game. I mean, Dunapace would probably still be number one.
Yeah. Dave Dunapace would be great.
Dunapace would be number one on my list.
UC Maresma, I feel like would give a fascinating
that would
TED
actually
Talk.
be a great one because there would be a lot of business stuff in there too.
Yeah.
Anybody that's been player and business side like UC would be very interesting.
I would love to hear a Jeff Spring TED Talk on like the future of disc golf, like what they're actively pursuing and stuff like that. Because like the Pro Tour, one thing I love about what the Pro Tour's done is a lot of stuff we've talked about on this podcast. People called us crazy, but if you like look at the Pro Tour, you can see them slowly implementing things that are heading those directions.
Right.
But the Pro Tour is being very smart about it, where they're not ripping the Band-Aid off in any one section.
You don't realize it's happening.
Like tour cards, for instance. A few years ago, tour cards were like that would kill the tour, blah blah blah. Then they introduced the Tour Pass. Then they changed the name of it to the Tour Card. So now players are paying for the Tour Card, and it's the same thing as the Tour Pass. We just rebranded it, and then they slowly, by like a year or two from now. I think in an Ultra World article, they said, like, this is the intention. A year or two from now, you're not playing on the Pro Tour without Tour Card. Mm-hmm. And it's like 5 years later, the Tour Card's been around for 4 years, now you need a tour card to play.
Yeah,
and then the year after that, it'll be this is how you qualify for a tour card.
Well, the funny thing is too, and it's not like we're out here saying we're fortune tellers.
No.
We are taking the examples that we apply to our theory for disc golf future. We're taking those examples from professional sports that are already successful. So it's not like we're like making this stuff up. We know that's the direction the sport will go. So that's why it's happening, is because the Pro Tour is adopting a professional model.
But the Pro Tour is being very smart about slowly, like you go back a few years, Jomez, Gatekeeper, stuff like that, were being paid to cover. Then next thing you know, not really paid, not really paying. Next thing you know, paying a little bit. Next thing you know, $500,000 for the media rights to the Pro Tour. So like you can see where the Pro Tour is being very smart. And
Pro Tour confused me though.
I'd be fascinated to hear Jeff Spring though on like what their like top priorities are that they're moving towards, what are things on the back burner, and just like how a niche sport.
Yeah.
How to grow a tour in a niche sport.
I see some ways the Pro Tour operates on like the back end and whatnot, and I'm like, yeah, these guys are really smart. They know what they're doing. I think. And then I see some things and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I think key people at the Pro Tour know what they're doing, have a great head on their shoulders. I think other ones, I'm like,
I agree.
What on earth?
I think some of the big shots there, I think Springs probably included, are pretty smart, know what they're doing, and then there's some people like that just like, what, like, huh, like how, like there's just some interactions we've had with the Pro Tour, and also just the stuff that sometimes like the broadcast teams, sometimes you're just like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
So
that'd be a fascinating TED Talk. Pro wise, I would love to hear like a player from like Shoestrick Nico era. I guess the only one would be like Nico. They like started touring a little bit before, because like Will's not still on tour.
But he's been in the. I like a guy like Will though, because he's seen the player side and the business side.
Yeah,
and I think that's always interesting.
I would just be fascinated to hear like a talk of a player who's.
I would love to have Nico up there for an hour,
seeing the full transition in disc golf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Yuli is well spoken.
TED Talk.
So that's the thing. You got to
one.
factor in the guys that are like actually seem like very well.
Big Germ put on a good comedy show.
Yes, he would.
Like a disc golf comedy. Sorry, Tyler Brinkley, but Big Germ stepping in. That'd be hilarious.
Would it?
I think it could be.
Big Germ had a stand-up routine. You think you think you'd laugh?
I think it could be.
I say that not because Big Germ isn't like, he's not like not funny, but like stand-up is really hard. Like there are professional comedians that don't make me laugh.
Well, yeah, but they make someone laugh.
No, there would be a lot of, believe me, if there was a Big Germ stand-up routine on Jomez, it'd get 1 billion views and people would think he was the funniest person ever.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I'd be one of them. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, but
I think he's funny in the practice rounds, though.
TED Talks would be fascinating. We should just have like at the disc golf convention that got canceled this year and it's coming back whenever it's coming back. Were they having like keynote speakers?
Yeah. But they were group speakers every time.
Yeah.
It was like groups. So
I would love to have like
it was a panel. Like people were probably going to ask questions.
Yeah. I would love to just have like, I don't even know, but like Nico LaCastro on how disc golf's changed over the past few years. And then Paul Macbeth on the business side of disc. It'd be so much.
When you picture that though, you're picturing like the perfect world, but like those guys are not professional speakers. And you get a guy like,
that's what makes it great.
Like Paul, you get him up there like,
that's what makes it great. Is there be some type of highlight?
Like delivering like public speaking like really well is very difficult, and like it would be pretty entertaining to watch them try. Like there'd be some guys like you get a guy like Sexton up there who's like
Sexton would do a great job.
Who's pretty collected and like he would be very good at it. But then there's some guys that like they're athletes, they're not public speakers. Like there's a big difference. Like you can just look at press conferences.
It would all be entertaining though.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
That's all I'm talking about.
But some of them would last about 10 minutes and you'd be like, what was just even said?
But like imagine sitting back and being like, that was a fever dream.
I want a TED Talk from Matty O because I feel like I could just listen to him talk for an hour.
There you go.
Easily.
He could just talk about Mexican food.
Who was that?
Matty O.
Have you heard his rule?
Oh,
he doesn't eat it. Is it east or west? He only eats Mexican food west of the Mississippi. He doesn't eat it east of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's his rule.
he has rules like that.
Surely he's never been to La Coretta, man.
I know, seriously.
Man, I want La Coretta now.
Why did it get so quiet?
I was trying to figure out what my next...
I was thinking about enchiladas.
I was just trying to figure out what the next thing... The final thing we have for this episode to wrap it all up was this fascinating statistical deep dive by Ultiworld. I haven't done Make That Call in forever.
That's okay.
Ultiworld put this out. It was actually by Douglas Tyus. statistical deep dive in determining the competitive field strength of professional disc golf tournaments.
This has been like a really big topic on Ultiworld lately.
And
I keep seeing people doing.
First off, I want to say this uses ratings a lot, and I think this is kind of how ratings should be used. It's just like a analytics
number.
General thing. Like it doesn't compare player to player based on this fabricated weird number, but it's like a way. It just uses like another stat.
It's as long as you're not being like too specific with ratings, like. If a player is over 1,000 rated, they are good at disc golf. You know, it helps in that kind of manner.
Ratings were bad, and I think mainly because of UDisc's world rankings, this part's kind of gone away. It was just used to determine the best player in the world, and it was like it really sucks when Eagle plays a C tier, and so his rating hurts, and then next thing you know, he's not the number one player in the world anymore.
If you look at it bigger, like just saying like if you're above 1030, you're considered this level of player, then that works for me.
So here we go. I have some quotes from it, and then we can also I have the article pulled up too. But here's some of the quotes from it. In order to compete for a win in an elite tournament, MPO must average 1050 plus rated golf over the course of the tournament. In 2021, at the top 6 events, the average round rating of the top 5 finishers was 1052. In order to be in contention, a player needs to sustain this level of play for at least 3 rounds. Most of the field at elite events cannot do so. Since the beginning of 2020, just 21,000 plus rated players have played 30 points above their rating for the duration of a tournament, according to Statmando. That makes up 1.1% of rounds by 1,000 plus rated players at elite events in that time frame. So players have at least a chance of competing 30 points above their rating. Players 1022 rated are within 30 rating points of 1052 average round rating for top 5 finishes in 2021. In other words, players rated at least 1022 are a legitimate threat for taking down the win on tour. Lower rated players have won on tour, such as Konner O'Reilly, 1019 rated, winning the 2021 Delaware Disc Golf Challenge against a relatively weak field while averaging 1041 golf. Also, Colton Montgomery, 1012 rated, won a COVID-shortened 2-round Waco in 2020. However, these wins are rare. The next lowest rated winner in the last 2 years was Mason Ford, 1029 rated. Lower rated players occasionally pop off, but as a general rule, the current threshold for competitive players is roughly a PDGA rating of 1022.
That's a cool statistic. I like that they pulled that.
I thought it was fascinating that you have like a 1% chance of being like 1,000 plus rated players have a 1% chance of shooting 30 points above their rating for the duration of a tournament. So like basically a 1022 rated player has a 1.1% chance of winning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or coming top 5, I guess it would be.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
does that like check out though? Like if you take like obviously he's using the, I mean I guess it does. That's how he got the number.
Yeah, well this is also so then he went and did the things with the best field strength of last year. So and I believe this is trying to figure out how he got these players. So the competitive rating system he's developed sets a competitive field baseline that can be used to compare tournaments. For 2022, this baseline set by averaging the ratings of any player at or above 1022 rated from 2021's USDGC and Pro Worlds. These top 41 players from each event averaged a rating of 1031 in this baseline, which all tournaments in 2022 will be compared to. For each tournament, the top rated players' ratings are averaged to find out how many players meet the competitive field baseline. At the 2022 Las Vegas Challenge, the average rating of the top 35 players was 31. Therefore, 2022 had a competitive field of 35 players.
Yeah.
So then,
that's interesting.
Basically, this shows the most to least competitive fields. The 2 most competitive fields were Pro Worlds and USDGC with 57 and 56. And then Ledgestone was almost as competitive as a major at 54. Then it drops off to 49.
How many players have a chance, essentially? Statistical chance.
Now, this is where it gets interesting.
That's
so,
very interesting.
The most competitive national tour last year was DDO at 38. So, when you compare that to DDO at 41. So, when you compare that to the most competitive Pro Tour, which was Ledgestone at 54, shows that. Then you have some Silver Series start sneaking in there, but
it's kind of surprising how large that number is. Although I realize the people at the bottom of that literally have like a 1% chance. So it's like, when does that percentage get to like 10? Like how high? Because I get like. Because like if 1050 whatever is the rating you need to average, then obviously if you're like Paul, you basically have to like average your rating. Whereas those other players, you have to average so much higher than your rating.
Yeah. The least competitive Pro Tour field last year was Des Moines with 23 players, which that was Paul's other he had 2 wins.
Win.
But that's what they were at the beginning of the article. They were talking about why USDGC beyond it being a major, felt like such a bigger win for Paul than Des Moines.
Yeah.
Because Des Moines, there was only 23
Everybody.
players that had a chance.
I will say, though,
which is on the same level as the Memorial last year at 22.
that number is not completely deceiving, but kind of deceiving, I would think, because how often are what I want to know is how often are players outside of the top 15 of that competitive number actually winning? Because I feel like there might be a key 10 to 15 players that if they're at the tournament, that's what really matters more so than there being. Yeah, there might be 50 people who have.
Well, but the more
chance
people that
of
have
winning.
a chance at winning, the harder it is to win.
Right, but I'm saying, if 30 of those 50 people have a 1.1% chance, do they really have a chance of winning? They do, but it's like so minimal.
So you have like Drew Gibson and Gannon Burr in a playoff for Vegas.
Those are higher than 10-22 rated players.
Yeah, but their chance of winning wouldn't be that high.
No, but I'm saying
you have a player like
I just wonder
Nick Carl
I
in the
wonder
lead
how
after
many
one round at Waco.
I wonder how many of the 50 players are in that 1.1 to like 5% category.
No, that's not that. This is a different category because this is competitive rating system he's developed. Its baseline is set averaging the raters any players at or above 1022. That's the baseline.
Yeah.
And then they average 1031.6.
Right. So they're taking players that are in that starting at that 1022 threshold.
Well, it says at 2022 Las Vegas, the average of the top 35 rated players was 1031.6. Therefore, it had a competitive field.
I would just be
35.
curious to know if you took if there's like a key 10 players, like how many times are people winning outside of that 10? Because like we already look at disc golf and and it's changing, but how often do people other than your Paul, your Rickies, or your Chris or whatever win? It's just like the strength of field it's so weird in disc golf, the strength of field.
When Gannon Burr won Vegas, he was only 1027 rated.
Right.
Well, when he went to a playoff at Vegas, he didn't win.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, if you take if you look at it objectively before Vegas, no one's really considering Gannon Burr as a threat going into Vegas. He's in that like 1%. But if he doesn't show up, then Drew Gibson wins outright.
You're right. No, it's not an irrelevant statistic. It's obviously completely correct. It's just, it's difficult because we're transitioning right now because if I look, it's right now we have, I guess maybe it's just like a wrong way to look at it. But if we look at a tournament, like if we were looking at Des Moines, for example, I don't even know if this is true, but if we were looking at Des Moines, which it had like a weak field, and if we were looking at USDGC.
Let's just look at the Des Moines field last year.
Well, this is going to have to be hypothetical though. But
I just want to see like
if
there
were 23, I don't know that there was a completely strong field there. But if you took a tournament that had, let's say, 23 people that meet that 1022 threshold or whatever, and then you took a tournament that had 60, but at Des Moines and the other one, the top 10 players in the world, let's just say the top 15 were still at both tournaments, it's hard to look at Des Moines and be like, yeah, that field was weak. Because, like, how often is somebody outside of that top 15 winning right now? Barely ever, if ever.
Well, that means 1% chance.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to say because if you say the numbers 23 and 60, you're like, oh my gosh, that field was so much weaker. That's where it misleads you because
I don't think so because it is.
I don't think so.
Oh, because
in relation to winning the tournament, yes, but in relation to winning the tournament and just saying
it's also how much you're going to win by because like you also have to look at if you're in second and you have no one pushing you around you, it's going to be a lot easier to push for first. But now you have 60 people who could be pushing for second versus 20 people who are going to be pushing for second.
Right. No, and
that changes
and
how the win
I
goes.
do agree it's becoming more relevant. I'm just saying when you say 60 and 20, you think crazy huge, but if the top 15 players in the world are still there, that you still have to beat all the best players either way, and those are the guys that are the most relevant every tournament. So I'm just saying, but I do think that A, it is a completely correct statistic, obviously, and B, we're moving in the direction of that becoming more and more relevant. But if you took that same statistic and bump it back a few years, it becomes even more like, what the heck, because Paul and Ricky are winning every single event anyways, so who cares about the strength
But then
of
you'd
field?
also have to adjust the 1022 chance of shooting 30 points above their rating back then is probably even less.
You're right.
So now it might be 1030 and above.
I'm just saying the more that the field actually has parity and there actually is different winners, the more that the strength of field statistic is going to matter. Because this year and last year are better examples with players kind of sneaking in for wins here and there. Like it's becoming more relevant. But if I have a season where literally if you take, let's say you have a 20 event season and 17 of those events, one of 5 people win. I'm not really going to care about strength of field outside of those 5 people. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough for me to care because it's literally a 5-way battle for 90% of the season. Once you have a season where, let's just say half of the events go to one of those 5 people and the other half are completely different, then I'm like going to consider strength of field a lot more, I think. That's so I'm just not ready to like nail down strength of field outside of the key 10 to 15 players when I'm not seeing a ton of parity yet, is what I'm saying.
So Des Moines last year, Paul and Calvin were the only 2 players 1050 or above. Then it dropped to Adam Ham is next.
Yeah, I was saying
if you look at the places, third place was Gavin Rathbun. Paul only beat him by 3 at 1024. And then Benjamin Callaway, Paul beat him by 6, and Raven Newsom, they're 1021, 1018 rated. That's where my thing is if you have 60 people versus 20 people in your scenario, you have 40 more Gavin Rathbuns. There's a way bigger chance that a Gavin Rathbun, because you're telling me Paul didn't feel any pressure from Gavin throughout the entire event just because he was 1020 rated? He only lost by 3 strokes across 3 rounds.
But
of course he did. And so when you have 40 more Gavins, that's a big statistic. That's a big fact.
But I don't...
It doesn't matter if Paul beats him every time.
You might be feeling that at the beginning of the tournament, but once you get a couple rounds in, you're still only looking at the 10 people behind you. It doesn't matter if there's
Gavin
40 more people.
Gavin was 2 strokes behind him.
Right.
At the end of the tournament, Gavin came in 3rd place.
No, but at the end of the day, if the field is super deep or it's not, you're still only looking at the people immediately behind you.
That's what I'm saying is if there's a top 15 at both events, and outside the top 15, there's only 5 Gavins at this event, event A, and at the next one, there's, what would that be, 25 Gavins.
Yeah.
It's going to be way harder to win the second event.
Yes.
Because there's way more people pushing in.
Yeah, it'll be statistically harder to win the event. I get what you're saying.
So that's where the stat matters.
I just don't know. I agree it matters.
The same 5-10 people might win, but who they're having to beat is what's changing week to week.
I agree it matters. I just don't, to me, it's not significant enough yet for me to like freak out at the strength of field. That's all I'm saying. I agree it's a significant statistic, and it's going to matter.
It's why we didn't care about
the
the Open at Tallahassee, even if Paul or Calvin or someone would have went, but we do care about the major next week. Beyond it being a major.
But the Open at Tallahassee didn't have the key players that we look at.
Yeah, but I'm saying
that's what I'm saying that's what we've been using, and I still think that is probably the best way to look at it.
Throw Down the Mountain had Paul and Calvin.
Yeah.
But we don't really care that much about it.
Because there was only Paul and Calvin.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you throw Ricky in there, it's still like, okay, but no one else was there. I mean, it matters a lot less than the Pro Tour.
It matters a good bit more, though. The more, like, you toss in Ricky, it matters a good bit more. You toss in one more guy, I think it matters even a lot now.
But then there's still
beat 3 out of the top 5 in the world.
Outside the top 15, now everyone's 980 rated and below. It's like you had to beat 3 guys versus you had to beat 40 guys.
Disc golf is still, right now, still a little bit of a top 5 duel to me, week in, week out.
I disagree.
I think it still is to me.
I think maybe for the win outright, there's like maybe right now 5 to 10 guys that you would expect to win, but I think who they're battling week in and week out is where that strength of field matters. Yeah. Because if it's just the top 5, there's going to be weeks where there's blowouts. Versus because of the strength of the field, there's not. Because now you have a Mason Ford that can sneak in there. You have a Gannon Burr. You have a Gavin Rathbun or whoever that can sneak up in there. And I mean, at the end of the day, do we really care if Paul's battling Ricky and wins by 1 or if Ricky's battling Gavin and wins by 1?
No.
Like, those are both exciting.
No, yeah.
And there's a bigger chance the more people there are. But fascinating stat by Ultiworld there. And I thought it was really cool, the
well-written article.
percent chance of someone actually shooting that high above their rating once they get up there.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
I'd be interesting to see in like the mid 900s and low 900s what the percent chance of averaging 30 points above your rating is. It's got to be way higher.
That once you get to there, I feel like that's going to be super flawed. The other thing, obviously using the rating system is still kind of sketchy, but it's better at the top end. But if you have a 950 player and they go to a Pro Tour event, that's where the flaws come in because now you're going to obviously average above your rating.
Yeah, I played one of my worst tournaments I ever played was at Ledgestone, and I was like 940, 950. I sucked, and I averaged like 975.
If you're playing at a certain rating, and you almost like have to be playing in the perfect environment for the ratings to be true, because if you're playing as a 950 player and you're playing in the advanced division in a nice area to where you have good advanced field, you're probably going to get a pretty good read. But
if you're the highest rated player in the field, your ratings are gonna suck.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the other thing is like
I hate ratings.
yeah.
They're so frustrating.
Let's get a strength. Like we need different ways to determine the strength of field other than ratings.
Well, the tough part is like they want to use. You need something that can correlate to round and player.
Yeah.
Because like you can use like strength of field just based on how many in the world ranking are there, but that's not going to really. You'd have to calculate it based on people outside the top whatever winning.
Yeah.
Versus ratings, you can be like
You can go round by
You don't
round.
have to win to get the data.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like a player could average 1052, but Paul averaged 1070, so they lost, but they averaged that 30 points above their rating. So you can still get that statistic, whereas a world ranking can't do that right now.
ratings
Ratings just
they stink.
I hate them.
Yeah.
They suck.
That article could lead to more people doing what Heather Young is doing.
What I will
They'll be like, oh
yeah.
wow, it's that hard
that
for me
low.
to win.
I'm 1019 rated, so you're saying I
What?
have no chance.
But I will say though that like all these statistics that are like we are like disc golf is just having a statistics boom lately. Like so many people are getting into
I love
it.
all the stat accounts.
Yeah, and I love it. I love that people are trying to find new ways to analyze disc golf because at the end of the day, like these statistics, even if I'm not in love with them, they are still a correct statistic. They're using numbers that are out there that are, and they're doing math, and that is a real statistic about the sport. Whether you think it is super relevant or not, it's still true. So I think the more of that, the better, because it just gives us new ways to look at things. I've never even thought of disc golf that way. Is like, oh my gosh, if I don't think we look at a 1024 rated player and are like, yeah, you've got like less than 2% chance of winning.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like
that is a new way to look at
and
things.
it's also obviously a little bit subjective because like there's some players who are on the rise and are at 1024 and some players who have been at 1024
Right.
forever.
True.
The player on the rise who's at 1024 obviously has a lot better
He's
chance
gonna
at
keep
shooting that.
better and better.
Would you
better.
say
Then
you're a player on the rise?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I would say I'm on a player. Like for myself, a player on the decline, I'd like to know my statistical chance of shooting
When-
30 points below my rating.
Well, I wanna-
It's got to be like 30 points or higher.
I want to know when the ratings update is for this.
Tomorrow.
Is it actually?
Should
know,
be, right?
You know these things?
Second Tuesday of every month. So that'd be tomorrow, right? Yeah.
You know what's
tomorrow,
so
12th.
you know what is so funny? My last ratings update was April 13th of last year.
Yeah, this will be April 12th of
So they're
this year.
going to be a year apart.
My rating's going to tank.
I'm going back into the 930s, boys.
I think I might meet you there.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I shot,
I
but
caught
my
my game
rating's
at a
going
good
down.
time because my game is now, I feel like, kind of in the toilet.
Yeah, my rating's
So I
going
really
down.
caught it at a good time.
Down, down, baby.
I never renewed my membership.
You're street in a Range Rover.
I am?
I don't know the
Is
next
that my
part.
signing bonus?
Down, down, baby. You're street in a Range Rover. Street sweeper, baby.
It's a song.
Hot, ready
I
to
see.
let it go.
I see. It's a song.
All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll be back on Wednesday for the Champions Cup preview, the first pro major of the year. And super excited. We're also going to have a companion stream going on Sunday. I believe we'll start at 2:30 Eastern time. That's when
Something
the
like
companion
that.
stream will go live. Around that time, we'll have more details posted later this week. But you're not going to want to miss the preview show on Wednesday. I'll get you all the stats, statistics, everything that you need to know heading into Champions Cup. And should be a good time. So that wraps it up. We will talk to you on Wednesday.